Hello and welcome to What I Watched This Month, a very late March edition. Yes, this is stolen from Karsten. All credit goes to him. If you're somehow watching this and you don't know who he is, I highly recommend checking his channel out, and he's an absolute genius. Anyways, long story short, I switched phones and now I use Letterboxd the proper way, and I know that how he does it. And I've seen a lot of movies and shows lately, so let's just get into it. Also, sorry the audio quality for this one is kinda shitty, just a heads up. Let's go. I've started the month with 12 Angry Men, which, believe it or not, was my very first time watching it. It's basically 90 minutes of debate between the 12 jurors on a murder case trying to decide whether a young man is guilty of killing his father facing the death penalty. It's a one-location film which I personally love, and I really understand why it's a classic. It was made in 1957, and yet it's a really progressive movie. It handles subjects like racism and toxic masculinity, which are obviously still an issue in today's society, and it does it really well. One of the most impressive things this movie does is that it differentiates its character with such punctuality that the audience can tell who's who very early on, which is no easy task, because they are a lot of people who are mostly not named at all that move around the room quite a bit. Also, spoilers, the one-by-one turning of each man to the not guilty verdict is believable and done very well, although I just gotta nitpick and add. This jury would definitely lead to a mistrial because they're supposed to rely only on the evidence provided by the prosecution, and they definitely don't do that, but I mean, suspension of disbelief, am I right? Next, I finished watching The Staircase, which is a docu-series on Netflix about the case of Michael Peterson's standing trial for the murder of his wife, which he claims was an accident falling down the stairs. This one is more of a court drama than true crime. We really get to know how the American justice system works, and it's not that great, let me tell you that. Anyways, as someone who's really interested in criminology, I really enjoyed watching the trial and every little detail that goes into it. I personally think it was an unfortunate accident, but either way, I cannot fathom how the jury found him guilty beyond a reasonable doubt with the evidence and arguments provided by both the state and the defense. I just wanted to watch it again. I don't know why. It holds up and is way funnier when you're older and actually get the jokes. It just works. Channing Tatum and Jonah Hill are immaculate together, and who remembered this cast was full of stars, because I definitely did not. You'll start to notice a recurring trend in this video. I watch a lot of movies for the actors in them, and this one is for Sebastian Stan. This movie is actually pretty good though. It starts as a romantic movie and quickly turns into every woman's nightmare, and I kinda wish I didn't watch the trailer so it would be a twist for me, because it kinda seems like it's built that way, but it was good nonetheless. I was sick to my stomach watching some of the scenes, which is definitely what they were going for, and that one dancing shot that's trending on TikTok is honestly mesmerizing to look at for some reason. The reason I didn't give it a higher rating though is I feel like it didn't really have an ending. It didn't conclude to anything specific, as if it was just made for the horrors of Sebastian Stan literally eating ass. Sorry, I just really had to put that in there. Man, I wish more people watched and talked about this one. It was probably my third watch, and I'm not planning on stopping anytime soon. It's honestly one of the best dramedies out there. It tells the story of Pete and Ellie adopting Lizzie, Juan, and Lita, and their journey of becoming a family. It's beautiful, endearing, and genuine. The acting is top tier, everyone has such great chemistry, everything progresses in a realistic way, and the casting is age appropriate, which is really rare these days. It's hilarious and emotional, and it's based on a true story. How great is that? I really like Taylor. She has another Netflix special, but this is her latest. She talks about mental illness a lot, and here specifically about how it shouldn't define you, and it was really nice. Illumination caught me by surprise with how much this movie didn't suck, which same for the first one. I don't know, man, it's a fun story, and Matthew McConaughey's Buster Moon is honestly a really great character. Great way to pass the time. This movie really exceeded my expectations, which weren't that high, but still. Very typical time travel movie, quite a lot of cliches, but also one of the best young actors you've ever seen, gut-wrenching scenes with great adult actors as well, and overall a really enjoyable movie that touches on some really vulnerable topics like loss and true love. Also, seeing Jennifer Gardner and Mark Ruffalo together on screen again as a married couple nonetheless was super heartwarming and nostalgic. Okay, so the reason I watched these specials is because like a year ago I was binge watching the John Mulaney specials, and it was late at night and I was in bed, and like the next day I remembered a joke about a dead horse that wasn't actually dead. That made me laugh really hard, and no matter how many times I rewatched, I could not find it, and I searched and searched the internet, and all that came up was the Trump is like a horse in a hospital joke. Until one day, with the help of a friend, I just searched the joke itself, and it was actually from the Tennessee Kid. And it obviously wasn't as funny, and I still have no idea how I got to it that night, but anyways, he's a really funny dude, and he also has an episode on Netflix, The Stand-Ups, which you should also definitely watch. Yet another movie I watched for an actor, this time for the gorgeous Haley Lou Richardson. I didn't really get it though, it kind of bored me, to be honest. He was really beautiful to look at though, and the opening credits are incredible. This movie is a roller coaster that never ends. I was on the edge of my seat the entire time. Robert Pattinson giving the most intense and sophisticated performance as Connie, who's trying to escape the police after robbing a bank while also trying to get his mentally disabled brother back from them. I won't spoil anything or elaborate because I truly think it's best to experience with as little knowledge as you can, so if you haven't, go ahead and treat yourself to this crazy, great movie. Just your typical Netflix documentary, nothing outstanding or extraordinary, but it nailed the people with power love money more than human life message, and man did it make me feel so bad and sick to my stomach. I went into it knowing nothing of the poem or the myth or anything about the characters or the story, and I didn't really get it. I like the inevitability of death that goes hand with time passing, and it was absolutely stunning to look at. And the soundtrack is also really great, but other than that, I don't think I understand it enough to say anything more. It's a slow burn that looks really fucking good. Okay, so when I watched it, I didn't know there were two versions, and apparently I watched the better extended one, which is the one without Amanda from the first movie. So just know that before we go on. But yeah, it was cool watching the rooms and the riddles that they had to figure out, although some of them were pure guessing and luck. But whatever, it was meh, a good way to pass the time, but I wouldn't really recommend it to anyone unless you really enjoyed the first one, then you'd probably really like this one too. Yeah, James Gunn knows what he's doing, and it was a great choice to direct this movie. It's good and fun, but it wasn't anything spectacular. Definitely better than the first one, but no masterpiece, and I have nothing else to say. Maybe I'm just really in love with Jason Sudeikis, but this one is a real gem in the trashy genre that is rom-coms. Of course, we have the meet-cute, friends who date other people until they realize they're in love with each other, the realization that what they looked for was there all along, but it's actually funny and actually romantic, the chemistry is immense, and oh my god, I'm never gonna get it in my life, am I? Couldn't differentiate between Pete Davidson and his character, which isn't necessarily bad. I don't think they were going for a different vibe, but I don't think it was made for me. It was good. I really liked Marissa Tomei, and I laughed out loud more than once, but I'm just not the target audience. Chris Evans and McKenna Grace are phenomenal actors, and they are pretty much why people like this movie. I mean, it's not bad by any means, it's just a very simple and average story, but everything just boils down to Chris and McKenna's performances and that one scene at the end. Other than that, the cat's really cute, and there are actually some really beautiful shots in it. Ted Lasso is the most lovable TV character ever made, and you cannot change my mind. He is the ultimate friend, coach, and overall person. They took a commercial for NBC Sports and added depth, character development, snarky humor, humanity, and wholesomeness. It seems like a real passion project, and I cannot wait for season 3. Who knew I would care so much about a football club that they rickroll me and I cry? Also, I don't know where to put this, but the intro is wonderful. It shows how Ted is leaving his mark and infecting everyone he touches with his amazing attitude and good mood. I highly suggest everyone to watch this surprising masterpiece from Apple TV. It will really warm your heart. I think we all pretend to think magic is nerdy and lame, but deep down we know it's really cool. And it's super fun to watch a movie where they show you some over-the-top magic tricks and then tell you how they're done, and have a twist reveal at the end. So yes, it's kinda stupid, but it's super fun to just shut your brain off for this one and just enjoy. Listen, I have no idea why so many people hate it. I've heard a lot of guys saying that they can't relate because it's about girls. But are you a car? A toy maybe? An old man? A fish? No, and you still enjoyed those movies. So maybe stop thinking relating to this movie will make you a 13-year-old girl who just got her period and is going through puberty, and start thinking about growing up, and your relationship with your parents, extended family, and your body. Turning Red is a great coming-of-age movie, and it's also so fun to watch. The animation and art style were so great and new for Pixar. It felt refreshing and necessary, also relevant for the story and characters. The only thing I think drags the movie down a bit was the action fight scene at the end. Other than that, I will be adding Nobody Like You to my playlist, and I look forward to watching it again. Also, something I noticed while rewatching, All the women of the Lee family are all dressed in shades of green and a little bit of blue, which is the opposite color for red since they oppress the red panda, while May is wearing shades of red and pink because she's keeping the red panda, which is a really neat detail. Windfall has a vibe of a short film, and I think it would have worked better that way. It feels like he was trying to make a point, but it was weirdly executed. I'm sure some people like it, but I just was bored. I'm really not a fan of the Coen brothers. I watched a lot of their work at school and film class, and I didn't like any except Inside Llewyn Davis, so I just tend to stay away from any of their films we didn't see, but I always knew Fargo was a really good and acclaimed movie, so I gave it a shot, and I am so glad I did. It still has a signature absurdity element to it, but it was tasteful and not overbearing of the story, at least in my opinion. And I seriously have nothing else to say that hasn't already been said, so moving on. This was my second time watching Beautiful Boy, and I needed that second watch. This movie came out when I was a dumb, naive 16-year-old, and seeing it again at 20 really hit different for me. I couldn't help but think how it reminded me of Euphoria, specifically the relationship between Rue and her mom. So just imagine that, but between father and son. Steve Carell and Timothée Chalamet are incredible, and they portray a really difficult dynamic that takes a toll on everyone around them too. This movie hurts to watch in the best way possible, and it's also gorgeous to look at. Also, I want to paint my trees like that when I grow up. And we're done! Yay! I really enjoyed making this video, and I hope you enjoyed watching it. I know you're probably thinking, where is the Batman? And sadly, I didn't quite get to it yet. But you're more than welcome to follow my Letterboxd profile and see my review there when I do finally watch it. This is not going to be a regular thing every month. I just watch a ton of things because I was home, and now I got a job. So that will keep me quite busy, which also means no more videos for a while, which honestly is the usual. So anyways, thank you so much for watching. See these movies and form your own opinions. Check out Karsten Rundquist, and I'll see y'all next time. Bye!